there's literally an indentation in the middle of the foot. And they're like, oh, they did that because in game, the way she slides down the ladder, that's where those grooves hit. I'm like, that's stupid. That is so stupid, but I love it. They made an in-game reason for it, which was like, hey, in case you ever go down, there's a thing called a ladder on Earth, and when you go down the ladder, this is how you're going to go down the ladder. It's completely impractical, and it's completely like just for fan service.
Hello, and welcome to another Dead Pixel. This is a podcast about video games, anime, life, and a little bit of everything in between. I am your host today, Nick, and here with me is the man that wrote Voltron. It's Joe. Joe, how are you today?
Doing all right. Yes, originally named it as Go Lion because Go being 5 in Japanese, Lion because they're robots. Yes. And considering the fact that I think I was like 2 at the time.
I don't think I ever realized that's why it was called Go Lion.
Yes. Actually, like I said, it never came out to the US as that. It was always Voltron. They did the weird thing where I think they tried editing like they did with Robotech and stuff like that. We're gonna take things that weren't the way it's supposed to be, mash them up and change episodes. I think in the original Lion actually dies, but they make sure that he survives in the US version. Can't be killing off one of your main characters.
Well, not to jump off on that, but like they kill. I didn't realize why they killed those characters until later, and just so they could sell more toys. So they could introduce a new character and then sell toys for the new character because you already had.
That was Transformers. That was 1000%.
But I mean, others they tried to do it with GI Joe. Like they did it with Transformers, I think first or maybe it was second. But with GI Joe, they did it and then they pulled back because they were like, yeah, we're gonna just get lambasted if we actually kill the GI Joe himself or whatever. I didn't watch the show.
Yeah, but imagine being Orson Welles and that being like, if not your last, but one of your last great like movies was like the Transformers movie, just to be this kind of crater of a show, just being like, yeah, we're just gonna murder everyone just so we can make a new franchise.
I did not experience Transformers in real time. The show I think was maybe airing in some form. It aired in Beast Wars, later. But when I was
that was actually all right.
Beast Wars was good. Yeah, I mean, but when I was very young, I think it was either off or I couldn't have access to it. But I rented the Transformers movie and watched it over and over and over and over again. And I love that movie. I mean, because I don't have a really big attachment. I mean, like I like Optimus and all that but they got me early. And people who like I think Vinny Caravella talks about Transformers and how basically the movie kind of ruined it, but he's older than us and he kind of lived through Transformers as it was on, Saturday mornings and stuff. So he didn't really care for the movie, but I think I was listening to him and he was like, but the best, I think it was him. It might've been somebody else. Anyway, the best that those characters were ever drawn and animated was in the Transformers movie. So love it or hate it, the actual animation is pretty kick-ass. And I really like that movie a lot. I know they kill off the main character and stuff like that, but I love that movie.
I was always confused. I just remember when it first came to VHS or something. I was still really young, and I remember watching a little bit of the cartoon, knowing the cartoon, liking the cartoon, but being very confused about the movie, just because like not understanding the plot or anything, and just as an adult, it's like that's still nonsensical to a lot of degree. But yeah, anyways, Transformers. I did try to get my son. Like when we went to the Lego store, I showed him the Optimus Prime, the like Lego set. I'm like, and he's like, I want that one, and I'm like, looking at my wife. See, he kind of wants it. We should probably get it, right? His birthday.
We should get it.
No, we can't. Okay, not gonna spend $200 for a child that can't.
Gosh,
that literally is too young for the box. Says so right there.
Oh, dang it. Well, I'm sure Transformers will still be around in some capacity
I
when he is old enough. You know, you should really
the
buy
one
it
I
for
do have the
him.
Voltron Lego set though. I actually
Oh,
have that one. It's the only one that I've bought ever in my life.
dude, I look at Legos and I'm just like, gosh, this is insanely expensive. They're cool, but and I guess they've always been expensive, but I feel like they're just way more than even they were when I was a kid. But maybe that was just my mom taking one for the team on some of those. Anyway, so speaking of anthropomorphic robots in a nightmare future, um, we're here today to talk about Stellar Blade, a video game that came out in April of 2024 for the PlayStation 5 video game system. Yeah, so you probably heard us talk about it on the podcast before. We've kind of delved into it a little bit on there, but today we're going to deep dive on it and spoil it, talk about anything and everything that we feel like talking about. Probably not going to go beat for beat on the story, but we will, at the beginning here, be touching on the very end of the game. I can tell you that much. So please enjoy this journey as we go through Stellar Blade and what we thought about it in all of its glory and horror. So anyway, so Joe, I'll go ahead and get us started. I picked the bad ending, um, and I so the way that this game ends is you are Eve and you are standing opposite of Adam, who has huge spoilers, who has, I mean, this is your final warning, who is the bad guy of the game. He is the final chief
Alpha Prime or whatever. I
alpha,
forget what
pri-
they call him now.
alpha prime Natiba, which are the bad things in this game. And he's been revealed as the bad guy. And so I'm standing in front of him and he's like, "Hey, I know that you've spent the whole game killing Natiba and all this stuff. But you and I should fuse and it'll be good and we'll have a grand old time and be the final baddest best Natiba with the final baddest best robot girl." Um,
So Adam and Eve
Adam
will
and
make
Eve,
a new life form
yeah,
together. The metaphor, like who would have thought that was going to be? Yeah, that
I
was
know,
it was.
yeah. So
They couldn't have been more direct with that than if they just
per,
plastered a sign.
pretty much, I mean, that was pretty much from the beginning. So I just want to tell you why I picked the bad ending. So I did, as I'm standing there and he's extending his hand, I did think about it for um, probably 5 to 7 real time minutes, which was like, that's not very long. But when you think about literally just staring at a screen and thinking about your choices, that's a long time. That's a long time to think
Hold your
about it.
breath, and then you realize how long it is.
Yeah, for real. So, you could probably hold your breath pretty easily for about a minute, but then after that, it's going to start getting tough. So it was a full 5 minutes that I sat there, flicked the thumbstick back and forth onto which one I would choose. And basically, I ended up saying, no, I'm not going to take his hand. I'm not going to join forces with him because of several reasons. First of all, I didn't think I could trust Adam because he'd been this way the whole game, and now he was actually this other way. And so I was just like, okay, I don't think I can really trust this guy. Second, the Natiba are basically animals. They don't make cities, they don't make culture or whatever. They're basically just like horrific monster animals that try to kill you whenever you come close to them. Most of them.
They were the failed experiments of evolving humans, essentially. Because the
Exactly.
humans that were when the war broke out, the humans did forced evolution upon themselves, and that's when they became monstrous.
Yeah, so they did this forced evolution and stuff, and so those are the failed experiments. the Alpha Natiba are sentient, but were almost all of them except for Adam, as far as I can tell. Well, that's not true. So Adam and Orcal are the only ones that I can think of that were not evil Natiba or monstrous slash evil Natiba. Is there any others that I'm thinking of that were not evil, that were Natiba, alpha or otherwise?
I mean, sentient is one thing, like because you had um, Raven, but she wanted to. She was essentially a spurn lover. Like
Yeah,
she wanted Adam, and because she couldn't have him, she's like, all right, I'm gonna try to scorch Earth.
I'm gonna
And then
kill you. Yeah,
uh, Taki hadn't quite gotten there, so um, I'm trying to think because yeah, 'cause the other one is the space the space
the one in
alpha,
this
like
the big one in space that you shoot with the cannon.
yeah,
Okay, I
which
forget
is
his name.
their take on like the literal interpretation of an angel that that meme,
Yeah,
floating multiple eyes, feathers, and the whole nine.
yeah,
So
I did kind of catch that. I was like, yeah, like literal descriptions of angels in the Bible are pretty much like that. You know, it's pretty weird at the very least. So basically, back to my point, like all the Alpha Natiba are evil, or it's Orcal or Adam, who is the first one. Okay, and then so I was also trying to guess what the game wanted me to do a little bit, which is not really fair. But with all this stuff kind of floating around my brain, I guess I thought that they did not want me to take his hand, and that kind of factored in a little bit. And then I also thought the Natiba are the original enemy that I was sent here to fight, and I wouldn't be deterred from that. Um, and then the good guys on Earth are the ones who started to accelerate human evolution that kind of created all this stuff. So I was like, are they really good? And then finally, the last thing is, I guess it's kind of a question for later about the people in the tubes. So I guess we'll get to that in a little bit. But so basically, that's why I chose to not take Adam's hand, and basically when you spurn him, he turns into um, this like night angel of light, and you have to fight him, and it's a pretty tough fight. I had to leave and go change my stuff a little bit. But I was able to do it. I think after like the third, fourth, maybe fifth try, I was able to get it done. But it was tough. So why did you? So what did you do and why?
okay, um, well, so what I did was what I recommended you to do, and I gave you a step-by-step instruction on the podcast at least twice. So therefore, I was just like, when you was like, "Yeah, I didn't do it," and I'm like, I just kind of like, why? Um, so what I did was, when you get to the last save, it's the end of the game, and the fact is, Eve is like, I have a feeling that this is going to be the last chance we get to save, blah blah. So, if you have PlayStation Plus, you save it. Then what you do is you just exit the game, hover over the icon, hit the options menu, and it says upload save data. You upload the save data to the cloud. Um, from there, I went in and I was like, all right. I went ahead and picked. I decided. I knew the right ending was to take his hand. I think because she's second guessed a lot of things, and the whole concept is you're opening your eyes to everything. Um, and she's always, Eve has always been more, through all the side quests and everything. Her audio comments have always been more open minded and trying to, like, she wasn't straight and forward, because that's Lily's goal. Lily's to play the ignorant peon who doesn't know much, and she just trusts the system, and that's why when the truth comes, she's like, no, that can't be it, that doesn't sound right, she freaks out.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and fought against Adam, because I knew I was going to reload this thing anyways, and take his hand take the next round.
Okay.
So, and also for most people who anyone who's listening to this, obviously at this point is about the ending. You probably beat the game already yourself. But there's 3 endings.
Right.
In order to get essentially the worst ending, you have to play the game kind of fast and direct, and not do a lot of the side stuff, and not do pick up a lot of the items, notes and stuff like that, because when you have Lily in your party, and as you're figuring more about the world and uncovering the secrets, I mean, even if you're doing just the most direct path, you'll enter into like chapter like 3 or chapter 4, and also her meter just by dialogue alone will jump like 10%. And there's a little meter, and that meter, what you're doing is once you get enough knowledge, do a handful of side quests and find stuff to get it to 100%, which is really easy actually. If you just do a handful of stuff, she will, before you go to was it the Spire? I'm trying to remember. Is that what? I forget if that's what it's called.
Oh, the space thing with the Raphael's Space Center.
Yes, and I think so. Before you can go to that Spire, she'll be like, "Hey, there's something I want to do,
Right.
which I want to go to Eidos 9," and then at that point you can do that, do her side mission, and that's how you get that's how you can unlock the true good ending.
Yeah. There's like it's like an ending one. I kind of think of it as still 2 endings, but it's like a 1A and a 1B, and 1B being like the bad ending where you didn't get Lily's full story.
Well, it's 1B is the failure of that to a certain extent, because it's but anyways, so I had completed her her full meter side quest run way early. It wasn't difficult at all, but then again, I just did the side missions that popped up, and I collected the things along the way. So I chose, knowing that fighting Adam would be the incorrect choice. I did that, and I would say it took me 3 or 4 tries. The first 2 tries, I got wiped clean, like just real quick. And then you start to figure out his pattern. But also, I ended up using. So I played this on normal mode the first time.
Okay.
And I ended up once I figured out how it worked, for the most part, is the part that really did me in the on, like, I think round 3 was his ultimate attack, where you need to have enough pistol ammo to take out the orbs before it completely wipes you. Yeah. And so outside of that, I used up a lot of my ammo, my side ammo, and I used up a lot of my items. I had to learn to get good at that, because his battle really wasn't that hard. The one that just the worst for me was actually Raven. Raven was for me was just I don't know, it just wasn't clicking with me, and I found that one to be the most like rage inducing bit. I mean, it's like, I don't know, all the other boss battles weren't as bad. Some were, I think, way easier than I expected. But Raven just I was raging. I had died like at least a dozen times on Raven my first time through.
Yeah, I'll just real quick on Raven. Like, I didn't die a dozen, but it was probably about half a dozen, maybe 8 or so. But there was a point where I kind of just turned a corner on her, and it got her down to like a quarter health, and then was able to like shoot like I think the gun became very handy with that. I think I had to knock her down with like a lot of pistol ammo before I got knocked down much by her like strikes and stuff. And then also I learned how to parry her she's hard to parry. She's hard to parry, but I learned to parry and block her shit and dodge her stuff, and that helped a lot too.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much when you fight knighted up Adam, and it's like, then afterwards you meet Child Mother Sphere, and then she's like, yeah, you have that core at that point to save the city. She's like, we want you to go back up, and so you're like, right now, okay. And I'm trying to remember that side of the spaceship. I remember it has like a decal, like the model of the ship,
Okay.
which is really funny, because that ship has it actually is the same, like one of the outfits. I think Lily it's one of her alternate outfits, and I think also Eve has one, but it has that same branding. So it's whatever company it is, but it was just
Yeah.
I just remember looking at that. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that from the outfit. Um, but yeah, you go up there, and as you leave Atmo, and then I think the ending is supposed to be you get surrounded. Was that it? Like
No,
that's the way I interpreted it. Is like you get up there, and she's like, there's like nothing else up there, and they're like, oh wait, and then they kind of pull back, and I thought that whole bit it was like they are like looking at the fleet or something like that.
it's weird. It's like some sort of net or apparatus that is built around the Earth. Um, and they don't, and no one online in the little bit of YouTubing that I did knows what that is. It's just sort of supposed to be ominous and like, this is weird. Why is this here? And what's really going on here? But it's not actually answered in the game. I actually have a theory. I have a theory that if and when they make a Stellar Blade 2, that they're gonna go with this ending, with the bad ending, as the main, as the quote true ending for the sequel, you know, because I feel like that has the most place to go, because otherwise it's sort of like, we'll get to it, but like it's sort of it sort of is a weird way to end it. It doesn't feel like there's a lot more to really do with the other ending. But anyway, so yeah, so you were saying that you kind of leave the atmosphere and you see this weird sort of net around the Earth. It's not really a net, but it's like a scaffolding around the Earth that is very confusing and seems to be something. It
That's
seems
why in
ominous.
my
It
brain,
seems
and
bad.
yeah, because they look at each other kind of slightly confused. You pull back the camera, and then it just kind of like shows it and ends. And that's why for me, I was just like, wait a minute, like in my brain, I'm thinking like I justified it as like they are looking at like a fleet that's just going to be like, yeah, we're going to murder you and continue our fight because you didn't play along with us. That was kind of how I interpreted that. And then when so then of course after that ending, I went ahead, uh went into my
Cloud save.
select the icon on the PlayStation, downloaded my save data from the cloud, overwritten my previous one, and then jumped in and went ahead and took Adam as my like partner. They fuse into the new life form, and from there, uh, Lily, her machine goes chaotic because it's registering her as enemy, and
It's registering
so
Eve as an Atiba now, and so it's an enemy, and so it
yeah,
tries to kill her. Yeah,
so but it's I found it kind of interesting. I like the look of the machine actually in
very
combat. I
cool.
thought that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, and as you're beating it, you get them down to like half health or whatever, and because you finish the Eidos 9 side mission, you have the magic USB drive, which helps her stop the corruption code and gets her free. Which
Yeah.
I really have a problem with that. That annoyed the crap out of me that was the saving grace for her, because I always in my brain I was always thinking it was going to be, my suspicion was you like I'm forgetting Lily's friend, her partner or whatever, like that the hacker.
Yeah.
But I thought that USB stick would be there to upload and help stop the signal against Mother Sphere. I thought it was going to be because Mother Spheres obviously knows like as you turns out, if I remember correctly, humans had the wars. They created Mother Sphere and to help kind of as a soldier, like a system to help combat other humans. As time went on, it realized like self-aware AI being like, wait a minute, we're the better system, we're the better thing, we're going to take out humans. So then humans fought um, the
Mother
Mother Sphere,
Sphere. Yeah.
and so therefore, that's when humans had to evolve into Natibas to help fight. But then Mother Sphere rewrote their history and said, "Hey, we're evolved humans. That's how we are. Like, because a lot of early stuff you find is like you can thanks to the whatever system, we're now able to live outside of space without oxygen. You can now go to the depths of the ocean. Like you don't need thanks to your robotic heart and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was the propaganda by Mother Sphere, if I remember correctly. Now, I hadn't played this game since like early May. Like I played it and beat it right away, so it's been a little bit
Yeah.
since. But that's why I thought the USB stick was there to like stop or upload or somehow corrupt Mother Sphere. But no, it's apparently just to stop this robot suit,
Yeah.
which is very random happenstance. I'm like, wow, that's just
Yeah, that is kind of silly. Like it is. I mean, and it's also sort of like making video games is hard, and they had to probably find some way to have this separate ending. That also had a separate ending off of it. So yeah, so if you don't have that, then Lily cannot escape the suit. She's trapped inside of it as it's
and so
fighting
when you
you.
defeat the suit, you cut her in half.
You cut her in half and you kill her, and it's like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then so that's bad. And then but if you do have the good ending stuff ready, then she ejects from the suit, and then you kill the suit, and then she's fine, and everything goes good. So that there's so in that ending, in that good ending, you defeat the suit, and then you tell Mother Sphere to F off, and then Mother Sphere sends fleets of ships with I forget the name of what you are through the game, but basically angels. Yeah, she sends fleets of ships filled with angels, and they crash or they come down, and then you're fighting them for a while, and then that kind of fades away, and it basically is like and then it shows it shows Zion, and the people in the tubes are being awakened, and everyone's happy, and then you can run Zion, and it's all good because you have the core that you needed. And then it shows Eve kind of all Batman like on top of a roof or whatever.
I related it to the Matrix. The way Neo wakes up at the like he flies at the end. I'm like, it just very much felt that like we're unlocking the Matrix. Everyone's waking up from the pods, and
it is kind of like that, yeah. But then so Eve is sitting on top of a roof, and she's looking all cool and stuff with her new suit, and then she like dives down and is going to protect the city or whatever from everything forever and ever or whatever. So there's a lot of things that I'm kind of weirded out by that, because I'm like, okay, so you defeat Mother Sphere? Not really.
So you slaughter a bunch of people. Like the fact is, the ending fight scene is Mother Sphere sends just a bunch of drop ships, the ones that got obliterated.
Waves of angels, yeah.
And then you end up you have infinite health and power, and you're just slaughtering them until the cutscene happens. It's like you have to slaughter. I don't think it's X amount. I think it's just like literally amount of like 2 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And then the end. So essentially, you stop that wave is essentially it. And then now, the Neptibas as a whole are not the problem, but now it's going to be Mother Sphere is the problem, I guess. But you're there, and theoretically, you probably have Netiba powers to help, control other Netibas or make new ones. Who knows? I mean, you have the factories, in theory, to make them.
Yeah. I mean, so that is quote the true ending, and I guess that is. Like, there's a lot that you could do with that, I guess, where it's like, well, now we still have Zion, so we still can use all those assets, I guess. We still have all these characters. And so maybe a second game would be off of that, where it's just like, you're not fighting Netiba anymore, you're fighting angels, or you're fighting like bad Netiba and angels or something. I don't know. I guess they'll figure it out. There's probably something good that you can pull
I think
out
the
of that.
easiest way to do a sequel is not to make it a sequel like you're thinking. I think you just make it a generational gap. The next generation, the next wave, or another person down the road. Because like you're another airborne unit, angel that that dropped, reprogrammed, or finding the truth, doing the thing. coming up, in a different
You're
way,
right
like, and
because
have Eve and Mother Sphere as the superpowers in the background, while either you're a new descendant or a new just character in that world. That's the easiest way to do a sequel.
yeah, because otherwise you're not going to have the discoverability. But I think there's still probably stuff you could do with discoverability. Anyway, I think that there's definitely places they could go with it. I like the idea of the bad ending being where they launch from, because I feel like that you're not ultra powerful there. You killed the Natiba. I mean, you have your powers and stuff that you gain through the game, but it's whatever. But the questions that I have to do with so Adam says that he's the last bit of human DNA. He literally says, "I'm the last bit of human DNA. So if you kill me, you basically kill humanity." So I'm confused because the people in the tubes in Zion, they're not human. Are they some sort of android, just
No,
not powerful
yeah.
androids?
So they're Android ADOS.
Okay,
So the Android
androids.
ADOS
Okay,
is the mother sphere units. So the angels are the airborne units. They're the combat ready models essentially. So it's all right. So in near in near automata, like, you have the replicants, and you
yes,
have the like Orahas, so they are the combat units from space, and you have the replicants on Earth. Because all humans on Earth in near are just machines who have human memories,
yeah,
and that's more or less it. Because
yeah,
there is every single person can get their body parts swapped out. You look at the singer, who I'm drawing a blank on her name right now, but she is
Evelyn
literally
or
just
something.
a skeleton at first, almost. She's torso up,
Yeah,
um, which I really had a problem with that, because uh, she's accompanied in the very beginning. She is kept alive by a Natiba. There's that floating thing of tubes going into her
yeah,
that's keeping her alive. That is you find that at the spire when you're going to the orbital elevator. They follow some of the other monsters, and all it does is you either kill it or it comes to you and explodes. That is the thing. And I'm like, it is just that thing, but it's like a different color, so it's like a repurposed one of them.
hmm.
But I'm like, that is clearly a Natiba been repurposed for, and it's being used in this settlement. So I thought that was really weird. But yeah, that's why that's what you upgrade her. You get her memory
I
from
guess,
memory chips. You get then you get her legs
yeah,
in a different side mission. So but Android ADOS is what was made by Mother Sphere, if I'm remembering correctly, to combat humans, and that's what we're slaughtering the humans, and that's why the humans made the Natives to fight the Android ADOS.
yeah, yeah. So the people in the tubes are not really humans; they're android ADOS. Um, and so it's just so yeah. So I was kind of like, well, I don't know why we're so happy. I guess because Eve is now the last bit. Once Eve and Adam fuse, they're the last bit of human DNA. But um, yeah, I was just sort of
The
like,
Android ADOS don't know that they're not human. The only
right,
people that know that the
okay.
truth is Mother Sphere, Eve, Adam, and Lily, and of course Oracle. But Oracle's dead.
Yeah,
So,
Oracle
I
does.
mean so literally, Lily and Eve are the only people that know that are on Earth,
Yeah.
and then the Mother Sphere knows, but no
So
one else does.
so the game does it it drops hints that you're not that Mother Sphere is bad. Um, throughout the game, as you hear different things, like different you know messages, and read all kinds of stuff. But I kind of felt like the point that they were trying to make was that Mother Sphere didn't care about the soldiers, didn't care about all the lives that she was spending to kill the Natiba. And I'm just sort of like, I guess it's just sort of the way I look at the world, but I'm just like, that's war, man. Like, so there was a lot of so all that stuff sort of kind of I was like, I get what you're trying to say, but I'm also like, what do you want it to do? If you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. And so and so by the end of the game, that's where I was kind of like, well, I'd probably do the same thing if I had to kill these like Natiba alien thing. then that's probably what I would do. But I guess there's probably a lot more that I sort of missed, I guess, where
Okay.
where it was where it was like they were trying to tell me, hey, she's not really all about killing the Natiba so much as she is about like just being absolute and killing humanity as well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist. Is
Yeah.
because you're led to believe that you're serving humans, and so that's the big reveal is that hey, you're not serving humans, you're fighting humans. That means the Neftivas you've been killing all this time are actually humans,
Yeah, but they're not
and
like
it's not a really big surprise. Well, and then once again, like since the very beginning, in Eidos 7, or whatever, when you the very first city, everything that Adam says is always cryptic and like it used to be this or it used to have a lot of people. Like the things he says, you don't know, like you can't know, but he knows because he's the elder Natiba. Um, and so it was very, it wasn't very subtle at all. It's like you knew instantly that things were amiss.
yeah. Once he
Um,
left, it was sort of like I just wasn't really thinking about it. But when he left, I was like, oh, I guess he's got to go do something. And then when I was fighting, I think Raven, I was like, oh, I bet. Okay. I was maybe a little bit before
it
that.
took you that that's a
It
long
might have
time
been a
to
little
figure
before
that
that.
one out.
It might have been a little bit before that, but it was after he left, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna deal with this Zion stuff, and then it was a little bit after that where I was like, oh, we'll probably have to. Okay, I guess I got to kill him now too. I should
Yeah.
have figured it out earlier, but I try to play games pretty brainless, so things are more surprising to me later. I don't know why I'm freaking with this thing right now, but
I read, like I said, I collected everything, every single piece of side content in that game. I had every note, letter, so there was not a single blank space in my collection screen. And yeah, so I found a lot of that stuff fun enough. But like I said, I honestly think that uh, the way it ends, it's just like, okay, well, this is how it is. You're looking at it as the group.
yeah,
Eve wins. She helps humanity, and humanity is going to carry on humanity, because essentially she's helping the people, the survivors on Earth, which uh, the like Mother Sphere probably doesn't care about,
yeah.
but she's just helping those who think they're human live happy lives because their emotions and stuff, that's all real. Their suffering is still real. So despite them being, so if they think that there's no fault or harm letting them think they're human.
They still die,
And
too.
they can still die, and they can live for a very long time otherwise. But I mean, like I said, they suffer. Like you had the guy who lost his sister, and you have to find the teddy bear, to find her memory. I don't know if you did that side quest.
I did. I
Uh,
did. There's only a couple things that I didn't actually get to do, and almost everything that I didn't do has to be done in a replay that I have not yet performed. But yeah, so I've done pretty much all the side quests and all that stuff. You can count
yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, you got the teddy bear outfit from it, so
You're right.
the one they should have led with that one and really curbed the people who are so angry about all the sexy costumes.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah,
well, here you go. You roll around in a full body teddy bear, like.
that one's funny. I got to hand it to him for that. But so I just want to go through some of my issues with the game, and then we'll go on to some good things that I thought, and then probably another little thing about Yoko Taro, but we'll get to that. So my issues with the game are the story was easy enough to follow, but some of the reveals were not particularly clear to me or easy to understand, like why they were important. I kind of went over that already with omelet, you gotta break some eggs, that kind of thing. So some of that stuff, it's like I remember specifically this one where I could tell that the game believed that it was important what I was hearing, but I felt like the actress or that Eve and Lily needed to have a more of a like a and like kind of look a little bit more surprised on some of those things. That would have helped me. I don't know. I feel like it was because I was kind of going off of them, and I was like, well, this seems kind of bad, but this seems like we can't really trust Mother Sphere now, and that Mother Sphere might be kind of bad, but they just seem like, oh, that's kind of not a good thing. Maybe Mother Sphere is not what we thought, but it was just sort of low key. So that was one of my things where I could have just a little, maybe hammed it up a little bit on the reveals, maybe dun 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 them just a bit more. Another one I thought was Adam and Lily could have used more filling out. Their acting I thought was pretty stiff, especially Adam, which I've talked about on the podcast before. Eve's acting was also stiff, but I feel like the VO that the actress herself just has really good presence. Just she has a really fantastic voice. This is all in English, by the way, but she has a really fantastic voice, and she was supposed to be sort of detached, so it kind of worked out pretty well. As I'm thinking, the dialogue being a bit better might have helped with Adam and Lily. Korean Adam might have been better, but Korean Eve just sounded a bit too ditzy. So I'm thinking on my second playthrough that I'll probably do the Korean VO on the New Game Plus. I still wish the skill tree was a bit more dynamic. It was effective, but not particularly interesting to look at, but that's kind of minor. I do wish that the enemies are all really good, I think, but I do wish that some of them required you to use more advanced skills or more specific skills. Not all the time, because that could get annoying, but I kind of, at the end of the game, I was like looking at my skill tree and stuff, and I was like, all this, like, there's a lot of stuff that's more advanced, second level, third level stuff that I just never really need to use. And it would be annoying to have to use it all the time, but some of those being like, hey, you got this thing, or you have to use this particular second, third level skill in order to get past this guy one time to get a treasure chest or something like that. That I think would have been cool.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there so I can fill in some of the stuff, because by the time you get to the end, I'm not going to
remember
keep
the
train
right.
for where we went off.
Right.
All right, so with the characters acting the way they do, like I think I like Lily as a character. I think she was done well. I think that she played her role that she needed. Now, I think due to the writing, there brings up some continuity issues because she was supposedly in that pod that you find her in the very beginning for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
But yet she had only been gone for but she had only been gone for a year, not like a year plus from when her friend died in Eidos 9. So how did her friend die less than 2 years ago, but then she was in a pod for 2 years? How did she wind up in the pod when she was already down on Earth? And I'm like, it just makes no sense. It really is a cluster. Like, so that part actually really irritated me, because it made, like, I don't know, it was really
that's just a big continuity error. You're right.
Right. I mean, they didn't say, like, if they would have simply said, like, hey, that friend died before, but she was and then, like, Lily had been to Earth before and went into a pod, but no, this is like she had already been they made it sound like and feel like she dropped, and then was like, as she dropped with her unit, she got separated, she was stuck there in the ground for 2 years. Then how does this whole Eidos 9 thing ever happen? And everything, like when you go in the orbital elevator, and she's looking through the eyes of the robot, or when you're actually flying into space, everything's like ooh and ah, and the Earth's so blue, and I've never seen any of this stuff before. Well, if you've never seen any of this stuff before, then it, like I said, that's on the writing.
Maybe she's
and that's
she's a
unfortunate.
Liar. Maybe she's the real Mother Sphere is Lily.
Well, what it is it's them being like, we had Eidos 9 and we didn't know how to put it in, like, naturally, so we kind of did this weird thing, because it feels very shoehorned. Like, we had this map, but we don't have a reason for you to go to this map, and so we are doing this whole memory stick. Memory stick is to help her get out of a robot, because her hacker friend is like, that's what the code she was working on. Because I really was expecting this thumb drive to be this giant reveal, but anyways, so that's kind of how it was. It's like, I felt with Eve. Oh, go on. Yeah.
I guess what I mean by filling out is, like, I could have used more, like, writing and, I don't know, backstory on, like, what does Adam do? Where is he from? I mean, I know they had to hold some of that stuff close to the vest, but, like, I don't know, like Adam's family or Lily's family or something just a bit
Lily's a
more.
machine like Eve. That's the
I
thing though.
know, but
Lily's
like
just like
more,
Eve.
but like there's supposed to be people or something like people. So just more of like their backstory I could have used with at least those two, if not more of the other ones. But anyway, that was kind of what I clarifying what I was saying
For
earlier.
me, I didn't need any of the backstory for Lily because hers is very much like Eve. You don't get backstory. You get training and you get programming, and that's really it. Um,
Okay.
the thing that I would like more is more interactions.
Yeah.
The thought that some stuff earlier with Lily, I thought was really strange because they did it was anime, character like mocap, which is essentially like her throwing up her arms in a weird way, like an anime female character would. Like when she discovered, like I found a way for you to like I forget double jump essentially or something like that. It's Tifa from the Final Fantasy remakes has the same problem where she's
Yeah.
like, let me do a certain like back and head turn or something like normal women don't run in front of you and then turn their head like almost 180 degrees to look
Yeah.
at you tilted. Like that is strictly anime only, and it looks really really weird when you try to do something like that in real life. Or like let me curl my hands and like do a certain pose. Like normal humans don't do that. That is literally a modeling
Yeah.
Japanese fan base thing. And it's just like, so to have a character just do that just randomly, just like, because it just is really jarring. um I found that I understand. My problem with Adam is not the fact that they didn't tell enough about him. It's just the things that they had him do was, like I said, it was just so glaringly awkward. Because the when he does speak, he's clearly hinting and giving away like, I know more than I'm letting on. And it was
Yeah.
just, that was my problem with his writing. Is just like
Yeah.
everything was, it was just weird that way because he didn't sound natural
Yeah.
because
And
he's
like
like,
super early on, he starts to tell her some
how it
secret
used to be.
and they get interrupted. And then I'm just like, okay, that's important. I'm going to come across that again later. But yeah, there's a lot of things. So that was sort of weird.
I
I
mean,
don't know why they interject. I guess so they could get you thinking about him being different than what he appeared to be.
yeah, and I think it's a budgetary issue because
Yeah.
when you look at it, the city, the city's only so big. And you understand why it's so devoid of people because and areas to go to because everything's powered down. Okay, I understand that. But just on face value alone, Adam is like the only scavenger with any real means because everyone else is just the normal like grunt who literally has to hoof it up, like run on foot everywhere.
Whereas
He
Adam
has
has
his
his
own
back.
landing. Yeah, he has the only landing pad, not shared with anyone. You hear about nothing. Like he has a motorcycle, or he has the hover bike because there is a motorcycle. Because you found out the two sisters, they had a motorcycle, but it gets junked real early, and it's kind of like one of the side missions. I liked because is you have to go back to Idaho 7. You go to the area where the water the water level drops, and you meet another female scavenger. But her and Adam know each other. They have a rapport. She seems competent. She's voiced like she's like confident as well.
Yeah.
It's just like kind of similar to the fisherman. I can't remember his name now either.
Yeah.
Uh, but like these are people who exist who obviously can survive, have survived for a very long time. There should be more of those people, but instead you're finding a bunch of inept people who are always in danger, always just out there to get murdered, or like, I abandoned my friends. Can you find their corpses? I feel terrible. Blah blah blah. Like, but or like I've gone mentally insane. And that's there's very few very capable people, and that's
Yeah.
really telling, I guess. But that's because that's like a budget thing. It's a scope. They don't have enough resources to really flush it out, and hopefully that's what I'd like to see. A real living world opposed to this.
Yeah,
Because
they can't have
I don't know, you
multiple
have like,
pads with, I mean, they could in the background, they could say, oh, that's the airfield or whatever. And you can see, one ship, even if it's just like a canned, like a
Or yeah, like
GIF,
but
GIF in the
an aircraft
background.
carrier thing, like you drop it and
Yeah,
then hide the ship or something.
it's like
But for
yeah, something like
aesthetics and
that.
everything like that, there's no, to your knowledge, there's no one else as celebrity status as Adam.
Yeah,
And it's like, all right, that's fine. I mean, but anyways, as like I didn't mind his character. It was just slightly annoying that they wrote him in a way that they were like, I have a secret to tell. I'm like, yes, I know what your secret is. You're really a bad guy. You're part of the bad guy team. Like it was
yeah,
point blank, easy to figure out. And so that part, all right. But yeah, Lily. Lily was my, like, out of the basic core people. You had them. You had the Sisters Junk. You had was it the Junker or the scrap guy? I can't remember his name now. Is it Junk?
Oh, the little robot.
Um, yeah.
His
He
name
was
was
fun.
Junker, wasn't it? Was that not his name,
I'm
or was
I'm
that
trying to
an
remember. I think
Overwatch
it.
thing? Um, I can't
But
think of his
anyways, you
name.
had
He was
him.
good. I
You
liked him
had
a lot. He was good.
and then you had the singer and her boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean,
All right.
like that you didn't really. Oh, and you had uh
Hair guy.
the shady sales lady. Um,
Yeah.
which the only reason why she was shady is because Eve kept on saying it over and over again, and like how much she hated her. She
Yeah.
was next to the billboard,
I know
and I
that
was just
was
like,
weird. I
okay,
mean, the lady did kind of hit on Eve a little bit in kind of
all the
weird
time,
ways,
but
but so that was kind of weird.
yeah,
But otherwise, yeah, it was like, well, why is she shady? I guess it's just sort of in world they know what kind of person that is. That and then the barber or the salon guy.
yep,
Um,
but you have very few other characters that you really talk to, and like you have some interesting ones. I mean, you end up getting like a lot of the you have the guards, the female guards that protect the
yeah,
like the one protects Oracle, the other two like clones or sisters or whatever protect one of the
the
each
the
of
eggs.
the labs.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's like
the
I
Amazon
thought those.
warriors.
Yeah, I mean those. I kind of wanted more, like, they had those were neat characters. I thought they could have done more with them. Uh,
Yes.
it's like,
I
and then
forgot
you
about
like I for
I forgot about them,
yeah.
and you're right that that would be cool to do more with them. While we're on this subject, one of the things I had was that could have used more info slash in game time, talk time, whatever on Oracle, Man, Raven, and Taki. Oracle and Man just kind of as a fun stuff, but I think Raven and Taki should have been differentiated more, and they should have talked in flashbacks or something like that a lot more. Because whenever Raven came up, I was like, "Is that Taki?" And they kind of had to put it in front of me, and I looked on the menu. I was like, "Okay, that's a different lady." I just wish they'd looked a little bit more different in the face and hair somehow, and
See, I
had
understand. But for me, it was easy. But my whole bit was like, Taki was this, like, super warrior, and then she went super stupid the moment to save Eve.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and like it was almost protocol to like sacrifice yourself for Eve because she's the only one called Eve, and there's called the Eve Protocol, and then you're finding these pages, information about the Eve Protocol. I'm like, wait a minute, like. Is there like one out of every? Come on, you gotta tell me. There's at least one out of every 100 that's called Eve, right? Please, because
yeah,
it was just weird that she got. It's the video games have a problem with this. So do anime, where the main characters get to have no headgear, and they get to be more exposed, different hair colors. They get all the rights and of being special.
yeah,
But yeah, like Taki's kicking butt left and right, and all of a sudden it's just like, instead of stabbing Raven, she's like, no, I'm just gonna jump in front and get sliced. I'm like, you have a blade. You go blade first, and pointy end towards the enemy. That's what you do. It's like,
yeah,
but instead she takes one for the team and gets murdered in the beginning. I'm like, at least you're led to believe, and I thought that was a silly way to end Taki. And then it's like the big reveal is, her whole existence is just there to be showing that, hey, we can be, the guys can be transformed, and that's these monsters are truly horrific, as it was. um, Raven, on the other hand, like, you get a lot of her, you get some of her side story. You can find her pod even
mm,
in the desert. So
Oh,
that was kind of,
I think I did
yeah.
find that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's north and to the west. If you follow the bookstore, the guy who owns the bookstore in the city, he asks you to find his brother in the library. And you find then from there you find out he does a secondary quest where he's been on a path because he to find Raven. So he's like a disciple of hers.
yeah,
And then whenever he talks about her, it's just labeled as R, and I'm like, okay, it's Raven. That's easy. I
yeah.
mean, it's not a
Okay.
code. It's not anything hidden.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and then I forgot what were your next problem, what your next
No, that was kind of it. But
topic was.
I did like Orcal, as in just kind of as a character, like the way he looked and the character design was pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's, I mean, it was definitely very cyberpunkian and weird. So I could have just used more of him for that. And then man, um, he was kind of cool in a weird way. Not much more.
Oh
I don't.
no, they both were straight out of Ghost in the Shell. Okay,
Yeah,
they
they were.
both
Yeah,
were.
he was.
They were
Man was
good.
really Ghost in the Shell. He I was like, I know which one you are, but I couldn't. I didn't need a lot more of them, but a little bit more. Maybe a little side quest or something. I know my man kind of has a little side quest, but maybe something where you find out a bit more could have been interesting. But that's kind of it. I did want to go through two more kind of points. Some good things that there's less of this, uh, even though I thought the game was really good there, but like some good things we haven't already talked about. Um,
Oh wait, all right, I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick.
go ahead.
You were talking about yeah, because you quickly just touched base on the menu. I'm like, once again, I think the menu system was just fine. As far as skills go, yes, they could have had different skill
It's
set them.
fine.
So
It's
what I
fine.
felt is you pick your favorite path and what worked for you, and then just stuck with that. Despite unlocking the rest of it, I
Yeah.
just pretty much used my core set of skills. Um,
But I mean,
and
how
but
often did you find yourself like going into like the third, like the second and third level of where it's like you do the thing and then you do down square and it takes you to another thing. And then after that, if you can land that, you do like over circle and it will do this other cool thing. I almost never, hardly ever did that, especially never on purpose.
so most of my stuff was always based off of the actual two skills you have. Taki abilities, I just spammed her
Yeah.
spiral ability. I think
Yeah.
it was
That was the one to
triangle.
spam. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the triangle it's stun like a fool, and then you can really just go at it. Um, so I didn't use a lot of the uh like for example the dodge counter alternative, because that would end up using a bit of power. And I'm like, no, my whole bit was whenever I dodged or countered, my goal was to just do the single base attack because I didn't want to use up any other. I wanted to save and save all my energy for when I needed it. So those were the main things that, I did, and I ended up using the her ultimate attack where like the screen sliced up a bunch and then it shattered because that gave me the most iframes when it came to
Okay.
defense. So
Oh,
I didn't
yeah. That
use.
does have a lot of iframes there.
Yeah, the thing is, it uses the most energy as well. So it's
Yeah.
also I forgot. Yeah, so I played it first on normal. I played the second on hard. But when I played it on normal, I left. So out of the four equipment slots you have, I left two of those to be XP the entire time,
Oh, wow.
making the game way harder for myself. But I made it just XP boost the entire time. That way, when I did play it on the second playthrough on hard mode, it was like I ended up maxing out my tree like within the first before like the first two chapters that were finished. Had already maxed out the new skills that they unlocked.
The things that I've
Um,
always prioritized was making blocking or parrying and dodging easier. Because I was like,
that was my other one. I had
okay,
that and I had the spine for it too.
yeah,
I had the spine
that was
for
my
that.
thing.
So
I was like,
those were the things I carried.
I want the widest window I have for both of those things because they're, I mean, the parrying especially block or jumping out of the way was important sometimes, but parrying you just had to use that in order to get your beta skill back up, and also just it was cool and all that stuff too. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I it's fine, it's not bad, but I would have liked it to be a little bit cooler looking, but that's just me. Some good things that I thought were this game had a lot of really good enemy types. Um, every zone has its own enemies, and then even within the zones there's a little bit of crossover, but within the zones they have different types. Like there's the wasteland, which is kind of like the desert, but the desert is a little bit different. And then the enemy types in there are actually really, they're really different. And they have organic ones, and they have robotic ones. And so I thought that was really really cool. I liked the when you were in I forget which place it was called, but basically where you would fight the guys that were in Atiba, and they were humanoid, and then you'd beat them, and then the head would like crawl away, and you'd have to kill that thing before it crawled onto another one. Where was
Yeah,
that?
that was Matrix 11.
Matrix
That
11.
was the
Yeah,
sewer.
yeah. I mean, I hated those guys, but I liked it. I hated those guys. Um, and then, overall, I guess I'll get to that in a minute. Kind of going off of those enemy types, the boss design, excellent boss design. I thought. I mean, I'm not a Souls head or anything like that, and those are the best bosses ever made or whatever. But the bosses in this game looked really really cool. They were very different. I felt like, but with still fit within a mold. Um, and they were just really freaking cool, like gross and awesome at the same time. Uh, I don't know. I really liked him a lot. Well, like there was I think the Alpha Natiba that kills Taki, quote, kills Taki at the beginning was one of my favorites.
You talking
Oh,
about Ravens? You talking about Ravens like bird form?
yeah, I guess Ravens bird for them. Yeah, yeah, I forget that was a thing there. But then the one that it wasn't the hardest, but and I really didn't. I only died to it probably three times. Um, but I thought was probably the coolest was when you're in Raphael Space Center, and it's not you're going around through kind of the Asian style corridors, and you get to the end and you fight. I forget what her name is, but she's like a kind of like an oni sort of like ghost.
She's no, she's supposed to be like a geisha. I think is what they're
Yeah,
supposed to be because it's the whole
but like a
like
ghost geisha oni type thing. But yeah,
yeah, and that was uh Karakuri.
yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. She was really cool. I liked the design of that. Wasn't
It was a neat fight. I hated the fact that I couldn't use my gun
oh yeah,
because it took
okay.
out the drone right away, and I'm like, oh man, this bites.
Yeah.
But that I still it's I think on normal it took me 3 or 4 tries.
Something like
Um,
that. It was
but
seemed
yeah,
really hard, and then I was like, oh, okay, this and this, and I kind of made a breakthrough on her, but she was really cool. Then there's just a lot of really cool bosses in the game, and I think that's probably one of the shining points. I think of it. I actually don't usually do this, but I actually went back through and looked at the bosses. They give you in the menu, they give you the art, and they should say stuff about it, and you can hit a certain button, I forget which, and just look at the art for the boss, and it is really cool. I would love to have the model. They should do this more in games where they just have the like a stationary static model, or maybe like a light animated, just kind of breathing model. And because I would like to do a full turn on a lot of those bosses. Were
they
really
did
cool.
that in RE4 actually. So RE4 they had them as little gotcha, you know, standees, like they were essentially amiibos.
Yeah.
And so you would use points that you gained throughout the game. You buy the little amiibos of all the figures, and so you'd have them like Leon with certain weapons and certain outfits or something, or the certain enemy types, and then you hit a button and they'd say whatever catchphrase or whatever the thing they said was. um and like some of the villager A would be like moede moede, and you'd have the guy with the chainsaw, Dr. So and so, I can't remember, and you could move these little amiibo figures all around and then just listen to their dialogue when you hit it and zoom in and out. And it was actually a really neat function. They did that back in the GameCube. No, but I didn't realize they had the model look, or the artwork for this. I know that they did, since I beat it, they did drop the patch where they added the boss rush mode.
Right.
Um, I've only dipped into it just to see the new because they had two new outfits, which were two Kunoichi outfits that
Yeah.
they just gave to you. And then they have one for completing boss rush mode. You can go ahead and collect a new outfit. I never really care about boss rush modes, and that new outfit wasn't enough to convince me to try.
Mm.
I don't know. I just never. The only boss rush mode I really ever played was Mega Man, and I hated that part of the game because you'd beat all the bosses and then you'd have to beat them again at the end, and that was always just a tedium thing. Despite me learning, I probably learned these bosses better than any bosses I've ever played in any game. That's because they really make you parry. I mean,
Mm.
dodging is viable, but this game really hammers home parrying, and I'm
It's
really bad at parrying actually.
Yeah, it's crucial for getting, the beta skill back, which is crucial to doing a lot of stuff. So yeah, you really had to get good at pairing. It's not like Sekiro. It's not that insanely hard, but it is there. So you have to, and so if it's pairing is not your thing, then yeah, it's too much and it's kind of annoying. Just kind of going on. Basically, I just thought all the aesthetics with the game were just really good. The character design, like I mentioned, the boss design, the enemies, and the smaller enemies as well. Um, it's a very pretty looking game. I guess it's Unreal 5, right?
It was supposed to be. I thought it was supposed to be,
Yeah.
and like I said, the visuals on this were without a doubt. Like I said, all the character designs were good, and I agree with you. The bosses were awesome.
Yeah.
That was they made each one unique in its own way. I
Well,
did find it funny though that they rehashed the models for your like for the weaker alpha like ones for your secondary like broken core battles.
oh yeah.
So you'd have um and how did the one the not the alpha but just the strong the elite Natiba survive a complete ship landing in the very beginning of that opening game? I have my doubts. But like
Yeah.
the not Abaddon, yeah, Abaddon, the lightning dude. He comes back in his broken form on top of the rooftop of the building in the desert near the opera house. You have I can't remember one of the other ones. The one by Lily at the end of Matrix 11. He has the circle disc on his head.
Yeah.
Gig Gigas maybe or
Gigas.
something. But anyways,
Yeah,
because
Gigas.
you literally shave off a part of his head and you kill him, but that same exact character model comes back in and they ambush spots in the wasteland.
Yeah.
You go beyond the fence and like that exact character model comes out and attacks you. So I thought that was kind of silly for them to. I mean, yeah, it's okay to reuse it, but you can just reuse the healed version. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the exact one that you wounded to
That
look like that.
that is cool. I do appreciate them going the extra mile on that because most games would just be like, yeah, we're gonna reuse it and it's gonna be the same character, the exact same model. But when they do like battle damage to it, that's cool. I mean, it's not that much extra work, I don't think, because all the character models are already there. But it is like, hey, we're not trying to just feed this exact same thing to you. We're gonna give you a little bit something different. So I like that. But yeah, like kind of talking about the aesthetics, like whenever I first saw this game, probably years ago, saw screenshots of it. I was like, well, that looks freaking beautiful, but you know, that's probably all that it's going to be because it's kind of from an unknown, more or less unknown studio. I thought it was from a Chinese studio for the longest time, but then whenever I visited you and we were watching that State of Play or whatever it was on, and they finally showed gameplay, and you and I were both like, kind of like scratching our chin, going like, well, this might actually be a game that has pretty decent gameplay, and I felt like the gameplay was very good. Overall, fighting the enemies was almost always appropriately challenging and pretty much never wore out its welcome. There were a couple times where it didn't really. It was like, all right, I need to get on here. And then, just off of that, the game felt very good to play for the most part for me. Very little of it was annoying. I get annoyed pretty easily in games, and I didn't feel like very much of this game was too annoying. Platforming was a little bit weird until I got the hang of it, but kind of figured out that was going to be sort of something that the game really wanted me to do more of, and then I was like, okay, I got to get my mind right for this, and did a lot better at it. But yeah, so there's only two more things that I wanted to touch on before we close. Was there
All
anything
right.
that you had for this?
Well, I mean, when it came to, I knew it was Korean from the start because when they first showed Stellar Blade, they had the Hangul underneath it. So you're like,
Oh,
okay, that's. Um, but when you first saw it, like the very first time you see it as the first teaser trailer, or whatever, it was. I guess in my brain, like I was afraid it was going to be more of like a Devil May Cry stylish action style
oh,
game or like a Bayonetta, and that's and it's like after a while people were like, well, it like you start to get a vibe, okay, maybe it plays more like Nier or but some of these monster characters are looking at like, well, is it more like Dark Souls? And I find that it does play something more at the speed of a Nier, um, but with a slight difficulty tweak towards a Dark Soul because I find that
yeah, Nier's
Nier has never been that difficult
you just cut
at
through
all.
pretty much until you get. I mean, the very hard setting in Nier Automata is insane because you can't take even one hit, but otherwise it is trying to just cut through until
Yeah, but
you're
if you want to
done.
do that in this, you just take off your clothes and then you have the default like skin suit, and that because you have zero armor in that game, and then and then you bump it up to hard mode, and then you have the same feeling.
Pretty
Uh,
much, yeah.
but yeah, that this game was I liked the challenge was there. It was appropriate. I really got into the combat way more than I expected, and despite being bad at parrying, I was able to learn
Yeah.
the moves, and I played it like I said, I played it once on normal, once on hard, got all three endings, and I platinumed it. And I think I was telling you, I was something like 80, 85 hours was my total time with this game,
Yeah.
but I also picked up everything in the game. And then I also did some stupid stuff just to experiment, like the hidden door, or that door in
Oh yeah.
Matrix 11 that no one could figure out. So my second playthrough, I didn't click when you first click on the door with Adam. When you first go through, he scans it, says like with his current security system or level, he can't open it. So when you after you hit Spire 4, the orbital elevator, Lily got your back, and so then you can't go into Zion, but you can explore the other areas. So I had not clicked on the door, and then I had gone with Lily as my as my companion back there to Matrix 11, clicked on the door, and nothing happened. Like it wouldn't it kind of had this if I remember, it had a meter like saying like it's going to do something, and it waited, and then all of a sudden the moment it hit top, she kind of like glitched a little bit, like it
Hmm.
canceled, and it would constantly cancel, or it wouldn't let me do anything at all. So I'd have to be at the right distance away, and it'd start to do something, but then it'd glitch out. So it's meant not to do anything, I guess. Um, and there was like one other weird thing, like just like mystery that the game still has, that people are just suspecting it just being like a spoof, I guess.
Hmm.
But I really did like a lot of what the game had to offer. Like I said, the only thing I wanted more of the world, the extra people, the characters, like one of the side missions you get after not Matrix 11, Ido 7, when you drop the water level, you run into a guy who's like, yeah, my friends, we were diving in the bottom, and like stuff happened, and I had to leave them behind. Can you like bring me back their memory chips or something like that? And you're
Oh
like, sure, no problem. You go down there and you realize they were alive and they were waiting for their buddy to come back, and then they slowly hate him, and then you can choose to. It's one of the only times in the entire game that you have a choice, because you have like three or four choices throughout the entire game. One in the very beginning where you're like, grab Taki's hand, which doesn't mean squat.
yeah.
Like either way, she grabs you and pulls you up. You have and the other, you had this option where you can tell him the truth or hide the truth. And if you tell him the truth, you leave, and then you come back later and he's dead. Like
Yeah.
so, because he couldn't deal with the
Okay.
guilt, so he committed suicide.
Okay. I was wondering what you did for that because I was like I lied to him and was just like, yeah, dude, it's all fine or whatever the thing was because I was like, that's not gonna do anything. Like my reasoning for that was it's not gonna do anything for him to know the truth. It'll just like and he because he didn't there's nothing he could have done. I mean, with what knowledge he had. But yeah, that kind of makes sense that he would off himself with the knowledge that of the truth.
I think there was a different one where like I also told the truth at a previous there was one other side quest thing where I told the truth and um I think Adam questioned that like you didn't have to and like but Eve decides like and I figured like well she's just telling people the truth. That's just how I'm going to play her this round, you know.
Yeah,
I did once with each, so that's how come I knew I knew both outcomes.
yeah,
Um and I kind of wanted like when you did the side mission for the woman there, you went to the was it the dolphin statue? You power up the hotel,
yeah.
and I was just like, I kind of wish there was more to it, like to just even enter the hotel or get like a safe space or something. But I don't know, it was the next game will probably have more to offer, more there. Um, you know,
Depending, yeah, yeah. Yeah, those are all like I could have used more for the mermaid thing, but by then I was kind of like, oh, this game is just sort of going to put some stuff in front of me to do, and then it's not really going to go much deeper into that. Um, the last main thing that I really want to talk about is not too much in how it's related to Near, though there is a lot in there in Near Automata specifically. But I do want to touch on kind of two things. First of all, so the company that does the music for the Near games is called Monaka. And it's I forget the guy's first name, but he's a composer named Okabe. I can't think of his first name, but anyway, so he did the music for Near Replicant, or it was just Near back in the day, and then he's done the music for Near Automata and for the mobile game Near Reincarnation. And it's a studio. His studio has done a lot of different anime and games and stuff. They have a particular sound that is sort of recognizable, and so I didn't know that they had done the music for this. But as I was playing the game, I was like, man, there's other things in the game that are near, like, and are nods to Near Automata. But the music itself was like, man, this sounds like a Near game. This really, there's certain kind of a like woman like singing in words you can't really understand. I thought it was just Korean, but I think it was like just kind of weird words or whatever. Um, and there's a certain sort of way that he does stuff like that, and I was like, man, this sounds an awful lot like Near. I just thought they were just copying it or nodding to it or whatever you want to say. Um, but then at the end of the game when I was watching the credits, I was like, oh, Monaka, okay, that's his studio, so that's why it sounds like that. That being said, I could have used a few more variations on the songs. They got just a bit repetitive. They are really good. It's a really beautiful soundtrack. There's just a couple of times where I was like, oh, all right, I kind of need that to quiet down and then come back, something different. It would have been nice. And then the other thing about this kind of related to Nier is that this game sort of seems like an interview for the job to develop Yoko Taro's next game. So Yoko Taro is the guy that writes and sort of is the director of the Nier games and stuff like that. And this game obviously has tons and tons of nods to the Nier games. And I just feel like these guys, it's so many nods. It's not quite copying, but it's so much reverence for Nier Automata that runs throughout this game that I am kind of like, these guys might, if I was Yoko Taro and I didn't already have deals or whatever, depending on what's going on, I might be like, hey, let's get these guys to make the next Nier game because the combat's already there. They're telling you that they love Nier left and right. They're already working with the music studio. I think it's ready made. I don't know what Platinum's really doing these days, but they're kind of Bayonetta 3 is on Switch. I don't know how devoted they are to Nintendo. I think they're fairly free to do what they want, but But man, like that's my only other thing is like, you know, I don't know, just kind of musing like could Shift Up get the next Yoko Taro game? Would it be a good thing? It's just It's an interesting question to me, and I would be interested to know the answer. That probably will eventually, but it's interesting to me.
I just like the idea of people making, having like this is yeah a love letter, an homage to Nier, uh, and hey, dark future, but worst case scenario, Yoko Taro quits making games. Someone else can more or less pick up the mantle, and hey, it's okay to have multiple people, multiple studios making similar things.
Yeah,
Yes, it might be. You might have to fight it out if you come out within the same year or release window of 6 months of each other. But if you're lucky enough and able to like avoid that, then that's fine. I mean, you can have multiple studios making very similar games because that happens all the time. Just so long as that they're spaced out enough. Hey, everyone wins. I think it'll only raise competition. It's good for the consumer. Um, so yeah, when it comes, I think it's Keiichi Okabe was who you're thinking
Keiichi.
of
Yeah,
before,
yeah, that's right.
and the music is really good. I actually didn't mind the music throughout the main game. It was funny because my wife comes in and sees me playing this game, uh, and then goes, "Is it bad for me to say I think it sounds like Nier?" I'm like, no, it's meant to. It's totally meant to. I think I was running through the wasteland at the time. I'm like, that is 100% what they wanted. Uh,
Yeah.
but I did find it weird that when you're towards the end of Spire 4, when you're reaching the top of the elevator, they're like, "We are now going to introduce you to K-pop, and we're gonna force you to listen to this
Yeah.
upbeat pop song and make you climb up this really slow climbing section because by the time it is done, you get up there, the song will be finished."
I
And I'm
like
like, and
that.
I'm like,
I like that K-pop that popped in there. I was like, dang, this is cool. Oh yeah, that was one of the
it,
bad
it
guys. That guy was that machine thing. That was really cool too. Okay, sorry.
it made me remember. It reminded me of was it the League of Legends
Oh yeah,
KDA, I
KDA,
think it is.
KDA. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me. I'm like, it sounds very similar to that, and therefore I kind of like it, but also I now really hate it because it's because I'm associating it with League of Legends.
Yeah.
So
Well, okay.
yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't go
that.
that far, but okay. Um,
It's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of like throwing that throughout a somber movie, throwing in a pop song at the credit scene or something like that. Just like as credits roll and you're playing something that's completely offbeat from the rest of the movie.
I mean,
Um,
it was getting to the end and it was fun, and you were that. I remember that part when that kicked in, and I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, it's time to kick ass, and this song is about kicking ass, so cool.
but then they make you go through a really slow section just so they
Oh
can
yeah.
finish the song, and I'm like, this isn't getting me motivated. You're making me go at a slow pace, climbing, jumping from ledge to ledge in a broken elevator, waiting for the thing to come back down so I can jump to that to bring me back up so I can jump to another ledge so the other part can come back down. I can jump. I'm like,
You will listen
just
and
and
you will
then
focus on it.
yeah.
You will
Oh,
not be able to tune this out.
if they faded away before that elevator like scene, just come up and then drop it, that would have been great. But no, you haven't made me sit through the whole thing. Uh, the actually my biggest complaint about this whole game is really small. After playing through it a second time, was on my second run at least. My biggest complaint on my second run was your skip function sucks.
Oh
You can
yeah.
skip only certain cutscenes that you've seen before. So for example, you was it the um Abyss Lavar or
Lavoir.
whatever
There's
the
Lavoir, and I forget the other one's
yeah
called. Yeah.
yeah the facility. So you get to, for example, you get to the end of you beat the boss, and then you do a cutscene. All right, I can skip the one cutscene, but now you're gonna make me sit and watch the hologram the entire time. Um, and then like you'll let me skip like flying in with to Zion in the ship. You'll let me skip most of that flyby, but then you'll still make me see the slow land. Things like the skip was really inconsistent. And I'm like, I just wanted to skip through the cutscenes because I knew certain ones. I'm like, I don't need to know that part. It's like, but they were very crappy with that. And that was my most annoying part with my second playthrough. Really, it was just like, granted the enemies you're so souped up by the end of the first run
Yeah.
that when you're playing on a hard mode in your second run, the enemies are actually pretty much indifferent. The bosses are pretty much not a problem. It's the second half where the enemies get tedious, and the bosses, you know, they are difficult, but in theory, you have most of their patterns memorized at this point.
Yeah.
So long as that's still fresh in your mind. Now, if you come back to like months later, of course you're gonna lose a lot of your muscle memory. But coming back right afterwards,
Yeah.
Raven was still annoying for me, but not as annoying as my first time through. But my first time through, it was like hair pullingly bad. But I had a rhythm like with her combat. Like I knew that if I teleport dash to her, attacked, I can make a hit, but then I can immediately counter because that was how she worked. I did the dash attack, she would counter, I would block, then it would open her up, and so I knew the first like handful of moves,
Yeah.
and I was able to start really predicting a lot of her stuff. She would still come out, and then if I messed up my timing, then she'd just wreck house, and I'm like, all right. And then the
Yeah.
problem is if you used up all your beta energy, or if you used up the other energy, I can't like the Taki or whatever energy.
Yeah.
When you reloaded, unfortunately your energy level would be back down, even though you had like started that match all full. But because you lost, then your items would be gone. Any items you like, if you use grenades or something like that, but because you reloaded from that save spot, so long as you had items in your inventory, like your stash,
Yeah.
they would replenish. So your grenades would be back to up, but your total overall number would go down. And same with healing items. But then, like so that sometimes you'd have to. What I do is I remember once I just constantly did the bare minimum. I wasn't going to try to go for a perfect run. I was just getting my beta energy up, and then I let her kill me just so I can restart with full beta energy again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's probably
So
that's
it
pretty
was
smart.
cheap, but at the same time, but like,
Yeah, you
you
want to
know,
start with full beta energy though, because it's a tough fight.
yeah. So I mean that was, like I said, that the music was really solid though, and I was happy with it. I a lot of people crap on the fact that how close it is to Near, but I think it's actually a really good thing.
I mean, it's the same studio, and their stuff is different enough. I mean, in other things, but they have a way, they have a kind of a kind of an aesthetic that sort of sounds like that, and it sounds good. It's kind of different enough, I think. But yeah, like yeah. Early on with the whole Near stuff, early on I was like, man, this game is like just copying Near in some spots, and then I was like, oh, they're it's like a love letter, like you said. They're really trying to show how much they really like respect and all that stuff, and so that's cool. And I don't know, there's also some stuff on Twitter I think we've talked about before where Yoko was talking, saying how good of a game that was, and they were very humble, saying no, our game is not as good as your game, blah blah. So it's kind of weird there, a little bit of hero worship, I guess. But I'm interested to see where it
Well,
goes. And
no, that's just the Asian humble, right? Like that's you can't.
I know, but it went beyond that. When you kind of know the context, it definitely went beyond that a little bit. But all in all, game that I really enjoyed, and I'd like to do this, more to kind of talk about, go in depth on games that we've both played. We definitely have some others on the list. But yeah, I'm glad that we both got to experience this and seem to have a good time overall.
Yeah, I mean, it's just honestly, whatever new thing Yoko Taro makes, I hope the one thing he takes away with it was, hey, do a fashion Souls with it. I mean,
Oh, dude,
I actually
yeah.
thought it was fun as heck to have like a million different costumes, and yes, they get a lot of fluff for making it like risque costumes, but there was actually a lot of fully actual normal clothes that were actually a lot of fun,
Yeah,
and
really
like
good looking outfits. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my wife watched, like I sat her down. She looked at them like she, like, and it was fun to get her critique on them, what she thought was good and bad and stuff like that. I found it hilarious though that your character just has Barbie feet all the time.
Oh yeah.
I think only one outfit has like flat shoes or something. I'm like, oh my god, her feet are like both like heels are touching ground for the most part. Like I think they're boots, but still, I mean, it wasn't like ultra high heels or like her default outfit. I'm like, wait a minute, does she just have hooves? Because that's exactly what it is. It's like it's just hooves. It's
Yeah, it's like
because you have
it's not even feet. It's like, yeah, it's like cut off, basically.
It's only yeah, because the Barbie feet, they're on
Yeah.
the balls of their feet, but it's hoof because there's literally an indentation in the middle of the foot, and they're like, oh, they did that because in game, the way she slides down the ladder, that's where those grooves hit. I'm like, that's stupid. That is so stupid, but I love it. They
Uh,
they made an in-game reason for it, which was like, hey, in case you ever go down, there's a thing called a ladder on Earth, and when you go down the ladder, this is how you're going to go down the ladder. It's completely impractical, and it's completely like just for fan service. For no one that's there, really, but maybe there's a robot that's following you, and maybe they'll just be checking you out the entire time. Um,
yeah, that is the
but
most
yeah,
fan
like,
servicey way that you could descend a ladder. It's just like, yeah,
well, the very first ladder that the one of the like that long ass ladder that you have to go up, and like the whole point of that was just to look at the butt, and I'm like, really, like they know what they're doing, and it's funny. But then again, you're buying this game knowing that you have sexy
yeah,
looking people,
you're
and
buying this
that's why I
game for
said I'm
that.
like, fair game. You should be able to have have Adam in a skin suit. Just play everyone. You should have Toggle Oracle. Boom.
But then you'd see his
Man,
angel
man's a
wings.
machine, man. Just man is just like skin here and his hands, and that's it. He's all like cyborg, but still.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
lot of modeling and that's expensive. So that's probably why that's not in there. But yeah, all right. Well, I think we've probably reached the limit on what we have to say about this game, good as it was. And yeah, really enjoyed it. So until the next deep dive or the next podcast, well, see you around.
yep, y'all take it easy. Thanks, Nick, for buying me the game for my birthday, by the way.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. All right. Bye.